It began with a letter, a plain white envelope with no return address. Just her name, Rachel Meyers, written in perfect, elegant cursive. She found it waiting on her desk one quiet morning, sitting innocently between a stack of legal briefs and a faint coffee stain. Inside was a single typed page, precise, cold, chilling. It read, "I killed him. I didn't mean to, but it had to happen." And beneath those terrible words, her name, her signature. Rachel let out a nervous laugh. It had to be a prank, she thought. It came with the job. Angry clients, bitter families from cases lost or won. She'd seen it all. She crumpled the letter, tossed it in a drawer, and locked it away, deciding to forget it. But that night, sleep wouldn't come. The words, her words, kept whispering back to her from the darkness. The next morning, the news broke. A man had been found dead. An accountant named Tom Weaver. He was one of Rachel's old clients. A chill ran down her spine as she remembered the letter. Then, the truly horrifying detail. The timestamp on the letter showed it had been mailed 2 full days before Weaver was killed. Detective Sam Carter leaned across the interrogation table, his eyes unblinking. "Ma'am, this was found at the scene," he said, his voice low as he held up a plastic evidence bag. Inside was the letter, her letter, the same words, the same paper, the same signature. Rachel's voice cracked as she spoke. "That's impossible. I didn't write that." But impossibility was a luxury she no longer had. The days that followed blurred into a sleepless, paranoid haze. Rachel started noticing things in her apartment were wrong. Drawers she knew she had closed were left open. Lights were on when she was certain she'd turned them off. Files she didn't remember printing were sitting on her desk. And every morning, like a waking nightmare, a new letter would appear. Each one described another murder in gruesome detail. Each one was signed, Rachel Meyers. "He screamed my name when he died. Rachel Meyers. She didn't deserve it. None of them did. Rachel Meyers." And with every new letter, another victim would appear in the city's news, their death matching the description perfectly. Her law partner David Shaw saw the toll it was taking. He begged her to take time off, to step away, but she refused. If she stopped working, she'd have to think. And if she thought, she might have to believe the unthinkable was true. Her once unshakable confidence in the courtroom began to crumble. During a cross-examination, she suddenly froze, her mind going blank. "I've seen this before," she whispered, so softly no one else could hear. But she hadn't, not consciously, or at least, not as herself. That night she returned to her apartment, her keys fumbling at the lock. The desk lamp was on. She knew, with absolute certainty, she had left it off that morning. And sitting directly in the pool of light was an old, scratched voice recorder. A small note was taped to it. Just 2 words. "Play me." With a trembling hand, she pressed the button. Static hissed for a moment. Then, a voice. Her own voice. But it was calm, cold, and utterly devoid of emotion. "He begged for mercy," the voice said. "I told him it was too late. I cleaned the blood. No one saw me." Rachel dropped the recorder as if it were on fire. That voice. It was hers, but it wasn't her. It was a monster wearing her vocal cords. The next morning, she went straight to the police. She played the recording for Detective Carter. He listened in silence, his expression unreadable. When it was over, he slid a thick file across the table toward her. Inside were crime scene photos, and among the grim images of evidence markers and chalk outlines were her fingerprints. Perfect. Clear. Undeniable. "Rachel," Carter said gently, "these were taken 2 nights ago." She shook her head frantically. She hadn't left her apartment. She couldn't have. Or had she? Her memories were a fog, her nights broken by flashes of sound she couldn't place. Footsteps in the hall, the whisper of a voice, the sound of running water. Her therapist, Dr. Lane, tried to offer a rational explanation. "You're under severe stress, Rachel. It's possible your mind is protecting itself by creating gaps in your memory. But deep down, Rachel knew this was more than stress. Sometimes, when she looked in the mirror, she felt a horrifying disconnect. Her reflection would smile a fraction of a second before she did. Desperate for answers, she began recording herself at night. For 3 nights, nothing happened. Just hours of her tossing and turning. But on the 4th night, the footage froze at exactly 2:47 a.m. When it resumed moments later, the bed was empty. And then the camera's perspective shifted. It was now filming from the other side of the mirror, looking out into her empty room. Rachel started frantically revisiting her old cases, searching for any link, any thread that could connect these horrors. One name appeared again and again: Dr. Alan Pierce, a criminal psychiatrist who had testified as an expert witness in several of her trials. His specialty was dissociative disorders, the kind that allowed killers to forget their own crimes. She found his office address listed in an old directory behind an old forgotten church. The building was dark, silent, and felt abandoned. When she stepped inside, a man sitting behind a large mahogany desk looked up and smiled. "Rachel," he said, his voice calm and familiar, "I told you not to come back." Her voice trembled. I've never been here before." He leaned forward, his eyes full of a strange pity. "Yes, you have." Her heart pounded against her ribs. "Why are you doing this to me? Why my name?" Dr. Pierce gave a faint, sad smile. "You asked me to help you forget." She staggered back, her mind reeling. "Forget what?" He looked down at his desk. "The first one, the one you couldn't save." Suddenly, her mind fractured. Images, screams, the slick feeling of blood on her hands. Her own voice, crying out in anguish, "Don't let him die." And then, silence. Rachel turned and ran from the office, gasping for air. But when she glanced back over her shoulder, the building wasn't there. Only an empty, overgrown lot and a faded, peeling sign that read, "For lease." That night, a new letter waited at her door. "I remember now. Do you?" Rachel Meyers. She rushed to the bathroom, splashing cold water on her face, and stared into the mirror. Her reflection tilted its head, but it moved to the wrong side first. Then it smiled a slow, cold smile. "You wanted justice," it whispered from the glass. "I gave it to you." The mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces. Days later, police entered her apartment to find her sitting motionless in the dark, surrounded by hundreds of torn letters, all signed in her name. On her laptop, dozens of audio files were neatly labeled: Session 1, Rachel Meyers. Session 2, Dr. Alan Pierce. Detectives searched for Dr. Alan Pierce, but there were no records, no medical license, no tax ID, no birth certificate. He didn't exist, but every prescription found in Rachel's medicine cabinet bore her own signature. The courtroom was silent as the verdict was read. Rachel Meyers, guilty on multiple counts of murder. Her defense had argued dissociative identity disorder, a fractured mind torn between being a defender of the law and a destroyer of lives. When the sentence was delivered, Rachel smiled faintly, a look of almost peaceful relief on her face, as if justice had finally been served. From within, months later, a young attorney cleaning out Rachel's old office found a dusty, forgotten drawer. Inside was one final letter. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I don't know who I am anymore, the defender or the damned. Every case I won left a scar. Every lie I told in the name of justice became a piece of the truth. The confession was never theirs. It was mine." Rachel Meyers. Sometimes justice isn't blind. Sometimes it looks straight into you. And when it does, you'll realize the darkest courtroom isn't made of walls and juries. It's the one inside your own mind. Thank you so much for watching. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. We'll see you in the next one.